Big girl.
So this is different. We'll start out with, who is my mother? You wear many hats. Mother of two, me and my sister.
Yes.
We're 4 years apart. 38. She's 34 now, or she'll be 34. She's be 35 in
Right.
April.
Yeah.
And I'll be 39 in August.
You know, I lose track because
Okay.
y'all are getting
We're
up
grown
there.
now, so it's like
Yeah,
kinda...
y'all telling my age. Like,
Okay, yeah, stop. But you look good.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, married, 22 years, 2 children, grown children.
Yes.
You also are a daughter,
Yes.
obviously. You are the youngest of
3.
3.
No,
On your
actually,
mother's side.
on my mother's side, I'm the youngest of 3. I'm a grandmother. I'm getting ready to be a great-grandmother. Hallelujah. My mother is a fresh 80-year-old strong woman who is fighting to the end.
Okay.
Hallelujah. She's a determined one, and she ain't going out like no punk. Amen. And so, you know, I got a little fire in me, but it came from lineage, you know, strong women that just refuse to be defeated. You know, we have a warrior type of a bloodline.
So outside of the family domestic roles, you have a lot of gifts and talents. You are a poet.
Yes,
You have the gift of poetry. You were born in New York. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was born in Metropolitan Hospital. I was a twin.
Was
And,
a twin. Interesting.
I was I was on the roster to be aborted.
Okay.
They had gotten my twin, who was a fraternal twin. Later on, I found out how that happens. The fraternal twins are in separate sacs.
Okay.
So they got my brother, but the Lord hid me.
So we know it was a boy. We've confirmed it was a boy.
It was a boy.
Oh,
they
wow.
got my brother.
Okay.
But the Lord hid me during this abortion process in 1967.
Okay.
And my mother did not know that she was pregnant with me. So she became voluptuous, very swollen, basically. And one day she fainted.
Oh, wow.
And when she went to the hospital, October 18th of 1967, I was born unexpectedly.
Because it was supposed to have been an aborted pregnancy.
Exactly. And she didn't know she was pregnant. And so what happened as a result of that is she had to have a blood transfusion that almost took her life.
Wow.
And so they thought that I would need, I guess, adoption or what have you. There was no one there to name me. My dad wasn't in the picture, and I don't know why. But at that time, the nurse named me.
Okay. So
And
the nurse named you Selma.
The nurse was Caribbean, and she named me Selma Tarji.
Tarji. Selma Tarji.
Tarji.
So you go by Tarji.
I go by Tarji.
Tarji.
Yeah.
That's what I know my mom is, Tarji.
Right.
But her first name is actually Selma, and you were named by a Caribbean nurse.
Yeah.
Okay. Because somebody was there to name you. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, if the pregnancy was aborted at such an early stage, how did we confirm it was a twin? Secondly, how do we know it was fraternal and
Because
identical?
the teeth
and third,
came out.
how do we know that it was a boy?
Well, see, if I didn't go too, that means that the baby that did go was in a separate sac.
Okay.
And so only fraternal twins are in separate sacs.
Oh, so that's how we can know.
The boy and the girl are not in the same sac.
Got it. So if it should have been 2 identical girls, you guys would have been in the same sac.
According to what I understand,
Okay.
that's what I've been told.
Okay.
But I could
We
really
would need
have
to
it all.
fact check that.
Exactly.
But as far as how you understand
Right,
it. Okay.
the way that I heard about it, that's the way that it happens. Fraternal twins are in separate sacs. And some babies are born with teeth.
Oh.
And he was born with teeth.
What?
So his teeth I mean, I don't know what kind of, they didn't have the same
Technology.
technology that they have now.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, I hate that I'm telling this because this has something to do with my mother, and she's
And
still alive,
yeah.
and she kind of secretive.
Oh, I
So,
get. I know
so
she.
she might not
We
want
don't want to
me
be too
too
invasive.
invasive. Right? We want to be
Um,
careful, and when I'm
with
talking
certain
about other
details.
people,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But
I get
I
that.
just, I'm very grateful that my mother shared that with me
Yeah, because that's like
because that's part of my
in
testimony,
your
in
history,
my
in your
history,
origin.
and my
Yeah,
origin, and it's something that helps me to awake to my purpose.
yeah, for sure.
Like,
You
Lord,
here for a purpose.
you
You had a
saved me,
plan. Like
right? And that wasn't the first time
that
you
wasn't the
saved
first
me.
time, right?
You know,
Okay, so now you're here. You come into this world. You're from what I understand, my grandmother was absent at the time.
she had some things going on in her life that where she just wanted to make sure her children were okay.
Okay,
So I know that I stayed with my Aunt Diane.
okay.
And my Aunt Diane till this day looks at me like I'm her daughter.
Yeah, I know that much. Yeah.
And I stayed with my grandmother,
Okay.
who is no longer with us. She died peacefully in her
Okay.
sleep.
Okay.
I had a visitation, and I know she's with the Lord. I had a visitation in a vision, where I heard a knock, and then I saw a purple curtain, and the curtain opened, and it was my grandma, and she was just shining and
You had this after
smiling
her
after her
passing.
passing.
How old were you?
I had to be in my 30s.
You did the group home thing in the
Yeah.
Bronx. You were living with Aunt Diane.
Right, and Nana, one of my mom's close friends, we called him Uncle Lati because he was like a brother to her.
Okay.
And his mother raised me too. I remember she had my hair down my shoulder. Nana, I'll never forget Nana. Nana, she used to give us those raisin cookies.
Okay.
Them soft, chewy
Uh-huh.
raisin cookies,
Uh-huh.
and with some milk and
Okay.
some TV. Ooh, Nana
Snacks
was
is lit.
yeah.
Okay.
Nana was and I love the pea soup she used to give me. Nana had some delicious lunches she would give me. Come to find out later on, it was all canned food, but it was good.
Right. You know the difference.
It was good.
You
I
know
think
the
that's why I got a taste for salt like I do now.
Because they got you
Because
hooked on sodium from a
oh
young
my
age.
goodness.
I know we trying to tighten my mom up on that now. Like we trying to get her. I make the juice, so I always try to get my mom juices every time it's time to go get her fed. I instead of doing the McDonald's, Burger King thing, I always try to take my mom to places that kind of open her mind to
Healthy stuff.
a healthier way. Because if you like talk to your parents, like everybody just grew up on salt and sodium and canned foods and junk food and sugar, and it's coming out more and more, especially with this internet era and everything being so accessible through TikTok and everything. We see that they just putting nothing but poisons in our food. It's killing us. So I do what I can to like. I need my mom to be here
You're doing a good job.
a little while
This
longer.
is coconut water.
This is
It's not H2O, Mom. It's H3O.
So yeah, so I gave my mom some coconut. That's her first time having coconut water. You know, that's like the best water for us. So it's super hydrating, all the things.
It feels
All
good
right.
too,
And she feels the difference.
I do.
When
I
she
feel the
drinks her
difference.
juice and
I have
eats
a different
better.
swag.
So like, yeah, she does. And so I'll take her to like, if we go out to restaurants, she's used to Burger King, McDonald's, that type of thing. No, we're gonna try like gourmet gang, some Mediterranean food.
Yeah.
We're gonna like try some vegan options, some, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I
that
like
she
it
can
better. It
expand
does
her
make me feel
palate
better.
because I think for everything that is delicious and not good for you, there's like a healthy alternative that's decent for you.
That's
So I think, just kind of helping our
acclimating.
peoples. She's acclimating. So all right, so let's fast forward.
Okay.
You now, because you had me at a young age. You had
Yes.
me. You got pregnant with me. I think at 17. I think 17 is on my birth certificate.
Yeah, I actually was 17, about to turn 18. Yeah.
Okay, so about
Yeah.
to turn 18. So
I was graduating from high school.
You're a high school student. Okay,
Yeah.
I cannot imagine
I
having a
can
baby
tell you,
at
you
17.
were something else. I remember one day you kicked me so hard.
Oh, when I was
I was
feeling your
on my
stomach.
way to class. Mm-hmm. Woo!
So was that a hard pregnancy? You were 17, and from what I understand, you were in good shape. You used to like run track. You used to.
No, you were in a hard pregnancy. I just didn't know how to push. And the nurse was from Alabama, and I'm from New York, and she's saying, "Burn down, burn down," and I'm like, "Huh? What?" And she's telling me to bear down,
Bear down.
bear down.
Bear
But the
down.
way she was saying it was like really difficult to understand what she was saying, and I was trying to push you out, but I didn't know how to push a baby out. You were my first baby.
Okay, and so from what I understand, you're in the South now. You're from New York,
right?
You going in Bronx? You in the Bronx at a group home. You're born in Manhattan.
How did I get to Alabama?
Yeah, how my whole family's from New York, by the way. I'm the only one born in the South. But so how am I born in Alabama?
Okay, let me tell you what happened. All right, here we go again. See,
we always
my mom is such a big part of my life.
Right.
Okay, well, anyway, I'll tell you. Let me try to leave mommy's business out.
Okay.
All right. I had gotten to a place where I was alone.
Okay.
I was a teenager. I was 15.
Okay.
And I was alone. I had nobody telling me what to do, where to go, or how to be.
You was grown.
I was grown, basically, and I was hanging out with college students because my mom was in college, and so that's where I met that remnant, that area of connection. And they were all older than me, but they, were treating me like I was one of them.
Okay.
And I wind up dating this college boy.
So he wasn't my father.
No, that wasn't your father.
Okay,
that wasn't where it gets a little. Okay. Let me tell you, I wound up dating this. I'm still in New York. I'm still in New York.
You're still in New York.
I'm still in New York by myself.
But you on college campus, you dating somebody.
I'm 15 years old. 16.
15. So I ain't coming to the picture.
You didn't come into the picture yet.
Okay.
But while I'm dating this college boy, I'm thinking I'm pregnant by him, and I haven't graduated from college, from high school.
Okay, so you wasn't a virgin with my father,
right? For
the record,
right. I call my mother, and I'm like, "Mom, I'm pregnant, and I didn't graduate from high school, and I don't really know what to do, and the guy that I'm pregnant by, he is roommates with his brother, and he's in college, and he's not really established, and so my mom, she vehemently just got into mother mode.
Okay.
And she was like, "Listen, I want you to come on down here. You can graduate from high school down here. You really need to graduate from high school." My mother was always big on education.
Okay.
And so she was appalled that here her daughter is calling her, and she ain't, about to have a baby, and all this. So anyway, I wind up taking my mother's advice, and I got to Alabama. So when I got to Alabama, I talked to the guy for a little bit, but then when I found out I wasn't pregnant, I was like, wait a minute.
But now you in the South.
I'm not pregnant.
Okay.
So basically me and that guy, we fizzed out like Alka-Seltzer,
Got it.
I did graduate from high school in Alabama.
Okay.
But I met another guy. And this guy was a high school dropout.
Okay.
Now, why I'm meeting all these slum bums, okay, I don't know, but that's a whole nother story.
For another day. Okay.
But anyway, I, wanted to help him. I figured I could help him, change his mind, go back to school. He seemed like a nice guy.
Clean him up.
I'm Superwoman, ready to put on the cape.
Yeah.
Okay. And one day he did something that really opened my eyes up to who he was.
What?
It was nighttime, and I was at his house, and it was like, "Okay, you're gonna walk me home, right?" And he was like, "No, I'm not walking you home." And I was like, "You're not walking me home?" You know what I mean? And
like a red flag.
Oh, that was more than a red flag. It was breakup time.
Yeah.
And so it was dark, and as I was walking home, I was like, oh, it's over between me and him. He got to be out his mind, not walking me home.
Yeah.
You know,
like, wow,
I was like, wow, yeah, I'm not
feeling covered
at all, you know. And so, make a long story short, it was like 2 weeks later, I was in the nightclub.
Okay.
Hey. And I was looking at your father. And he was looking at me.
Okay.
And your father was a bling bling. He was like short Panamanian. His name is Alfredo de Gracia.
Okay, wait a minute. So you like short guys? Because you know short guys is like...
He wasn't shorter than me. I'm short. He had a little bit of height over me.
So you okay with...
I was okay with that.
6
I don't have to have what I have now.
Oh, yeah, because you do got it.
I got tall, dark,
yeah, you got a tall, dark, and handsome now.
Yeah, I don't have to have that.
You don't have to have that, but...
And I never was really superficial or as picky as I should have been in my younger years.
I think that goes for a lot of young women in our younger years, just lack of guidance. Lack of guidance, and we grow up too fast, and these conversations are not being had with mothers and daughters a lot of times until, look, I'm 2 years from, I'll be 40, and now I'm finally getting to have these conversations with my mom, which we'll get into how our relationship kind of was, but I mean, go ahead. I'm not going to keep interrupting. So
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
So boom. So you said he was looking at you. He was
we were looking at each other, and I was very naive. Lack of guidance is putting it very lightly.
Okay. So on top of that,
I was so naive. I mean, when I say I was naive, I mean that's a nice word. I want to just say I was stupid.
Okay.
Okay? Because I'm thinking, he's like, I was like, I want to go somewhere else to dance. Is there another place where we could go out and dance? Because I really love dancing. I was brought up dancing. You know, we used to go to teenage parties at the Cosmopolitan Center. I never was told no, I couldn't go to the dance. And I was always a show off. I would get on the dance floor, and it was like, it's popping, and the people would gather around, and I would just show off, you know. And I got a kick out of that. That was like my... I got a lot of attention that I didn't get at home because I used to come home at 12, and you know, my mom would be at college on the campus doing, you know, her studies and stuff, and I would come home and I would have to fend for myself, but I was never taught how to cook. So I would look in the freezer and there would be frozen food, and I would microwave or do whatever. One day I wanted to go to a dance and I was told to fry some chicken, but nobody ever taught me how to fry chicken. So I thought I was doing something. Honey, they bit into that chicken. It looked so crispy. It was all bloody.
Oh, it wasn't even done.
It wasn't even done because I was not taught. But there were a lot of things deeper than cooking that I was not taught. And so I was under the impression that we were going to have like, they didn't take us to another club. They took us to a motel. And it was his friend and another girl. And so when his friend and the girl were walking in the room, I was following them like we can have a powwow meeting, like, you know, we get ready to sit down, talk, laugh. I was thinking innocence. I wasn't thinking we get ready to get busy. It's freak time. I wasn't thinking that. So he's looking at me like, you dodo bird, what are you following them for? You know, like, why are you following them in the room? And he was like, we have our own room. And I'm like, duh, you know, like... So there was a Bible. I'm telling you, I was so. There was a Bible in the thing. Now I had church experience. You know what I mean? Before I met him, actually, a church. An encounter with the Holy Spirit before I met him when I was like 17.
You can say you had a personal encounter with the Holy Spirit. So you had conviction and things like that at 17.
I had conviction, but conviction without the knowledge of the word is like a blind sight.
Okay.
You have, the word is the ingredient that keeps us with, the power of the Holy Spirit. The knowledge of the word of God is what keeps us. And if you don't have the knowledge of the word of God, the proper teaching, the proper guidance, you're like a stillborn baby.
Like discipleship.
Yeah, discipleship is necessary. And I didn't have that discipleship. And my life was going so fast that I didn't even really understand what discipleship was.
Right. A lot of us don't know what discipleship is.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's another.
It sure is.
Okay,
but to make a long story short, it turned into intimacy, but well, I can't call it intimacy now that I know what real intimacy is. It turned into wham bam, thank you ma'am, wake up in the morning, who the hell are you, type of situation. Where I was just like feeling like, okay, so where's this going? And like lost. Like I mean, I had learned the psalm, and I was trying to like show off again because I love that kind of attention at that young age. And I was like, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly,
nor
not after, before the night before. Yeah. I was just ditzy. I'm trying to impress this man with the fact that I'm a good girl. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just like to dance, but I know the Bible, and I pulled out the Bible, and I'm like, look, I know this stuff by heart. Let me tell you. And I'm starting to show off, and he's playing the game, but he's really like, I don't care how many scriptures, I want what I want. And I know how to get what I want. So he listened. Cool. He listened. Like, yeah, well, I'm impressed. But at the same time, he had an agenda, and his agenda wasn't to wife me. His agenda was to get what he wanted and going about his business, because he had already calculated in his mind, I met you in a club, you a hoe, you in a hotel room with me, I'm going to get what I want, and I don't really care about your history, I don't care about what you know, I don't care about the fact that you're telling me Bible verses. I think it's kind of strange, but I don't really care about that, and this is just what it is right here. It was still like virgin like, you know what I mean? I maybe had sex one time.
Wait a minute. What you mean by that?
I had like boyfriends, you know what I mean? I had
wait a minute.
I had boyfriends. I knew, when you talk about virginity, you're talking about,
I think when I think about virginity, I think about sexual intercourse. One time? Are we talking?
No, okay. Maybe I exaggerated by saying maybe one time. I probably had sex maybe way more than one time. But I wasn't like out there. You know what I mean?
It's getting sketchy.
Yeah, it's getting sketchy only because of the fact that I don't want to tell the whole thing. But I want. But I will say this.
I get it. We ain't gonna.
I will say this. I was not like out there. You know what I mean? I wasn't out there like that.
You had boundaries. You had parameters on that thing.
Yeah, I never was turned out, and you know what I mean. I never had no.
You wasn't getting
freaky.
Yeah,
I wasn't getting.
No train.
Yeah, I wasn't getting like and I wasn't having like what they call they call the thoughts. That's like magnified to what a whore in my day was. You understand what I mean?
Oh, what? Like, so thought nowadays.
Thought these days are like it's like what you would consider like
a street
walker. You know what I mean? What they doing? Yeah. It's
so you wasn't on that level.
I wasn't on that level at all.
There's levels to this, and you was not even on.
Every time I had a boyfriend, I was seeking love. I was seeking attention. I was seeking long term. I had a fairy tale desire to get married.
Okay, so it's not like it was the motive. So maybe you got dating a few times, but in your heart, you was like, man, I just want to, like most girls, I think, I just want to be loved. I'm doing this. I'm trying to fill a void. I'm looking for a daddy. I want to be somebody's
I mean, but
baby
look
girl.
at the
I want
age. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm 15 years old on the Griffiths Air Force Base.
yeah.
Okay, and these grown men, okay, are looking
I'm
at
seeing
me.
them hips.
They looking
they
at my
looking
body,
like,
and they don't understand. They looking at a little girl.
yeah.
You understand that it's in a woman's body. I didn't even understand that there's a code of respect in the way you carry yourself as a young lady.
Didn't even know the
I didn't even
code.
know the code.
Didn't
Like
even know the code.
for example, I thought it was okay to spend the night in the barracks.
Like, okay.
I thought it was okay. I didn't have nowhere else to go except for my little room. I had a little room, and this lady Tippy and her husband rented me a room. I was an emancipated minor. I didn't have no adults to answer to. Okay, and I had college girlfriends that were hoes.
Yeah.
Well,
Pretty much.
I was following them
That's
because
what happened.
they were like, I was looking up to them. They were older than me. They seemed
were
cooler
showing you
than
the
me.
ropes, and as far as if you're gonna get some game, that's the game they was giving.
That
you.
was the game they were showing me,
and it was still not.
It was toxic.
Cracking the code.
It was toxic for me.
It was toxic,
and it caused me to go into other realms of escape of the pain that I caused because of ignorance, because of being so naive.
That's vulnerable though, because I think a lot of women, whether you want to admit it or not, can all relate to that, or having a season of your life or like an experience even where you feel like you don't even know the code, and it's like you get the revelation later, but it's like already too late when you get the revelation because you've already got did in. Like, you know, the game has already been played on you, and it's just like that's why these conversations I think are so vital, like with mothers and daughters. But I think it's a lot of like damaged relationships between mothers and daughters. So and if you notice, I mean, not to come at the older generation, but I feel like this is very vulnerable of you to even have this conversation with me. I have friends who have mothers where I don't even think some of their mothers would even sit in. You're not about to like we talking about even like my grandma. Like, you listen, you're not about to hack open all my business all on the internet. You know, we're not about to do that. You know, people about to be going crazy in the comment section and just creating crazy narratives. Nobody wants to put themselves out there like that. But I think that vulnerability
is something that is selfless.
It's a superpower.
It gives the opportunity for an individual to help somebody else. And if you don't want to help other people at your expense, but you're willing to help other people at other people's expense, there's something wrong with that picture. And so I don't mind being vulnerable because of the fact that the Lord is my shield. He is my buckler. He is my rear guard. You come for me, you coming for God, because my enemies are his enemies.
And glory to God too, because it also sometimes talking about where you come from and what you've been through, and even hearing somebody else talk about it, it'll remind you of what God saved you from. And with that, I think is like an automatic response of humility. Like, you automatically, it'll readjust your heart posture automatically. Like, before I'm trying to sit up here and judge a streetwalker, I done did some streetwalker things. I done did some things that's giving streetwalker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's giving streetwalker. So it's kind of like, how dare we? You know, I just think as women, we just have a lot. Okay. All right, so let's keep going. Boom. You feeling naive, you feeling gullible. It was a wham bam, thank you ma'am experience.
Right, but we did date again.
Oh, y'all did date again. So he had that pompous attitude, but he still continued to see you.
Yeah, because the stuff was good. I had some good stuff.
Stop it.
Okay, I know.
Chill.
I know, but I'm just saying, you know, why would you come back if it wasn't good? Okay, so anyway, I did date him again.
Because you're giving it up. I come back too.
Yeah, like, yeah. Well, yeah, there was more than just me giving it up.
That's what we think. See, that's the delusion. We think. No, it was just us giving it up. They don't be attached. But go ahead.
Oh, no. He wasn't attached. I knew he wasn't attached, but I knew that I wasn't used up. And there was something about me that made him want to go out on a date with me again.
Okay, so something there. No matter how pompous he wanted to play it, he still continued to see you and date you. All right, so
well, I wouldn't say he continued to see me and date me. We had another encounter.
It keeps getting sketchy.
We had another encounter. The reason why I say I wouldn't say he continued because it was short lived.
Okay,
I can remember 2 more times that I saw him.
Okay.
Before he was going to be stationed in Germany.
Okay, so he's seen you a couple more times.
Yeah, he came to my mom's house. We took a ride to one of the college campuses to see some friends or what have you. I remember that. And I remember his attitude.
What was his attitude like?
His attitude was culturally captivated and derogatory against my race. Although we had the same pigmentation. Well, his pigmentation is exactly like yours. As a matter of fact, look into the camera, just in case he looking. This is your twin. Okay. And he may not even be alive today.
I never seen my father. I never met him. I had one time in my life where I remember feeling like, dang, I wish I knew who my father was. And I remember going online and trying to find him, and I remember kind of going down a rabbit hole. I'm putting credit card numbers in there, getting more information, and I feel like I found a lead where it said that he was married and he had a few kids. And when I found that information out, I just remember kind of feeling like, what if I go and find him and confront him? And then I always felt like I could never really miss something I never had. Maybe that manifested in other ways, how I did relationships and things like that. So that's another story. But I would say that I thought if I find him and then I see that he rejects me in person or as a grown woman, that might make me now start having some issues. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I think I just kind of hung it up, and I didn't, because I didn't know if he's married. Like, has he ever told his wife about this story? If I come knocking on the door, I don't want to ruin their family. Like, I just didn't want to come with no Jerry Springer drama in nobody's life that late. And then I also felt like, he never tried to see me or tried to know me, so maybe he's cool too, or on it. I don't know. So I just never really revisited that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go down that road one day.
Let me just give you a little background with that.
Okay.
During that time, there was blood tests. Mm-hmm. There wasn't DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And the DNA that did exist wasn't as modernized as the DNA now.
Mm-hmm.
It was very painful.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to put a needle in my stomach while you were still in my stomach
to try to do the blood work right that way.
So of course, you don't want the most painful. At my age, at that time, I was like, no.
You don't want to do it that way.
I don't want to do it that way. We'll do the blood test.
Mm-hmm.
But little did I know that the blood tests were not accurate. They weren't as accurate as DNA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, they're equal.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't accurate, and they made a lot of mistakes with blood tests. So now it's mandatory DNA because of the many mistakes that were made with the blood tests back in the 80s. Okay, now you see it's mandatory DNA. Blood test doesn't.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing because DNA was more thorough, and the blood test through social services came back that you were not his.
Okay.
So he didn't have his thought of me being a hoe. He met me in a club that was solidified. He was on his way to Germany, never to look back anymore.
So he's done. He feels cleared.
He feels cleared. If he's still yet alive, he felt cleared.
Okay.
I knew that you were his because of the way that you looked
Okay.
The way that my ex-boyfriend looked was he had no dark pigmentation at all. He was almost white looking.
Okay, so it sounds like you're 100% sure he was my father, right, based off the way he looked. But as far as your surety is concerned, does it have anything to do with timeline? Because I understand your ex-boyfriend was still in New York. You had a pregnancy scare which brought you to Alabama. Then you found out you were not pregnant, which obviously you had to have got a period within the next 4 weeks or something. So
okay,
how
this
was
was way later. The ex-boyfriend that I'm talking about, I met him in Alabama.
So there was another person in Alabama.
In Alabama.
Okay.
And his identity, the way he looked, was almost like a white boy. He had straight, curly hair.
Okay.
He had like a white complexion. He had hazel blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his look was totally different from
so
yours.
You just feel like I just look just like Alfredo.
Exactly. Your pigmentation, your complexion, your forehead gives it away.
Okay.
The shape of your head, period, gives it away. Your lips, you look just exactly like him. And I had a picture of him. I had an ID picture of him that was lost.
And some luggage when you were traveling.
And some luggage when I was traveling, yeah.
Oh,
and I wish that never happened through Greyhound, but it did. And it is what it is. Yeah. But I would say that you've turned out to be such a polished, beautiful, unique woman of God that is so wise in the way you handle things and has not been through the rugged drudgery of what I went through without the instruction, because there was a period of time when you were on your own at 15.
Yeah.
Okay, it was almost like the cycle continued.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy, the parallel of how that happened, you know, and you had to learn a lot of things on your own.
Yeah.
Sure, because I experienced that.
Right, and that's when I'm hearing you talk. I'm like, you know what?
And
I can relate to that.
And you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. Because I made it through that, when I knew that was what you were doing, I did not panic like I would have if I was unsure. You understand? Because I knew God brought me through that realm. And I knew that you would get through it too.
Okay.
But there were strengths and there were lessons and there were things that were developed within that realm that didn't put me in a panic mode when I understood that you were going for yours. You were going for your independence in the midst of my relationship frailties and the circumstances that surrounded my relationships, in of which is another segment. Another segment.
Okay.
But my inability to be there for you at 15, like a healthy mother, mentally, emotionally, physically would be, and watching the fact that you were still thriving. You know, I mean, it wasn't to the point where I didn't know that what was going on with you. You understand? It was just that I didn't have hands on mentally, emotionally, or physically because of the circumstances that were surrounding my situation, just as my mother.
Right.
She had circumstances surrounding her situation. It wasn't that she did not want to.
It's not that love was ever
absent. Right. It was the inability to love effectively in the realm that was a desire. See, I believe every mother that has a child has a desire to love that child and nurture that child the way that they should be loved and nurtured. However, life happens. And when life happens, sometimes it's not even making an excuse for myself or for my mother. Life is going to happen, but the way that you handle life is the way that you know how to handle life. Right. And sometimes when life happens, we don't know how to handle life. We don't know how to handle that situation skillfully and effectively because it's foreign.
Yeah, it's not like you do this over and over again and you become better at it. It's the first time you coming up on this in life. And I think when you talk about the parallel, just thinking about us here in this moment, even if being able to talk about this in a space where I can listen to you and not feel like the victim. You know what I'm saying? Because there was once upon a time when I was younger, them years that she's talking about when I was like 15, 16, 17, 18, and I'm on my own and I'm young, I was very angry. I was angry. I was
bitter.
I was bitter. I was angry. I was bitter. And I didn't have the maturity to sit and listen to my mom. I didn't even care about none of this. I just knew what I was going through. Sometimes when you're young and you're immature and life hasn't happened enough to you, you need to just live a little bit longer. You feel like the victim, and you feel like you have a right to be mad at somebody. But then when I got older and I started going through life and living a little bit longer and having my own experiences and life happened, I can now, at 38, sit up here and say, oh no, now I get it. I can listen to my mom, not from a little girl's perspective of, what about me, Mom? It's more of like, no, woman to woman. Life be lifing. And not only did she have me, but she had my sister, 2 kids. Life be lifing, and I didn't even have no kids yet. I don't even have children. I take care of my nephew. That's my sister's son. But that hasn't even been a full 2 years yet, and life was lifing with that. That's just one child. So I can imagine, it's like I've learned, because of all the things that I've been through, how to give my mom grace. You know what I mean?
And I just wanted to interject with the grace and the forgiveness that has been given to me by my eldest daughter, Ariel. My heart has opened up where I can see her, where I didn't see her. I can see her more clearly. I see the dynamic nature of who you are. I'm because she has chosen to honor me, she has access to the treasure of being not only acknowledged and recognized, but being cherished. There is something about honoring people. In this particular instance, we're looking at mother-daughter dynamic, daughter-mother dynamic. But when we honor people, we have access to the treasure that is inside of them. It unlocks the inability for a person to love, to see, to operate. And forgiveness is a key dynamic that God, allows us the grace to be able to do when we desire to do it. Some of us don't desire to forgive because all we can see, we're blinded by what happened. And we can't see past what happened. We can't see how. We can't see why. We can't see...
like the bigger picture of outside, stepping outside of yourself. Like it's the selfishness. It's a selfishness, really and truly, is what it is. Only seeing things from my lens, not really having enough experience or maturity to understand it from her perspective. And then let's talk about it. This was I'm 15, 16, 17, 18. That's post fire. So we're going to get to that, the fire, because that fire accident, my mom was in a car explosion, and that gets into the meat of her testimony right there, right? I think that was the pivotal moment where God was really, if it wasn't evident up until that point already, this was really a indication that God has a super calling on my mother's life, and the enemy is really trying to get her out of here. Since you hear in her origin story, since the time she was conceived, it was already arrangements made to get her out of here. And now unto him who is able, you know what I mean? he had plans for my mother, and God has really just, taken her through to the other side. So let's talk about it. So you and my father had a few other encounters.
Right. And then, it was a dismissal. Once the social service lady said,
negative,
the blood test came back, he's not yours, and he was shipped to Germany, it was a dismissal. And now it was healing.
Now, did you feel like it was some dirty work in that?
Definitely.
What would make you think that there was some dirty work in that? Or why would the test not be accurate? Back then, was it like a known thing for blood tests not to be accurate?
No, his ranking in the Army was first sergeant. There was rumor that he knew people in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And he paid for them to switch things around.
Okay.
Because he felt like I was the type of woman that came to trap him.
Okay.
That didn't have anything
because for American women.
And not just his stigma for American women, his status compared to my status. I hadn't even graduated high school. He was a first sergeant in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He viewed you as inferior to him.
He viewed me as inferior and wanting to trap him so that I could have some type of connection and gain. And
that wasn't even your motive.
That wasn't.
You were too naive
I
to even think that strategically about the situation.
That ability to plot.
Right,
like
at that stage.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a dismissal. And it was a dismissal that I didn't have the intelligence, the heart, or the strength as a young lady who was being strongly influenced by someone who was over me.
To advocate for yourself, to fight for a different outcome.
To advocate for myself, to fight for myself, or to even believe that I had the ability to be a mother. I was influenced to send you to my oldest sister because I had nothing.
Hence why I was, in my earlier years, from 3 or 4 months to early toddler, I was with my aunt and then kind of bounced back and forth between my mother and my aunt and maybe my grandmother and whoever else. We kind of similar, parallel.
Right, because what I was told was, you having graduated from high school, you have nothing to offer this baby.
Equipped.
You're not equipped to be a mother.
Mm-hmm.
You have nothing going for you
mm-hmm.
to be able to keep this baby. So I'm going to take your baby, and I'm going to take your baby. And this is after I had been rocking my baby and changing my baby's pampers and looking at my baby laughing like she playing with the angels in the crib and getting all bonded with my baby. My baby's 4 months old, and the person that was over me that had authority took my baby because I wasn't worthy. And that did something to me that I never recognized, I never looked at. Even until this time, it did something to my self-worth, my self-esteem, how I felt about myself.
Unqualified.
And that was a stigma that stuck with me and carried into after the fire.